What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Leroy McKenzie Jr., coming to you once again, the Author Showcase number 4. And I've had just a phenomenal time speaking with the authors that are part of this showcase. They have just been some individuals, some authors that have been able to, I believe, to enlighten, to empower, and to impact individuals, not just even by the projects that they have, the books that they've written, but just the work that they do in the community, for the community, about the community, and making us better as people. And that's one of my intents, one of my missions with anything that I do, with Jane African Enterprises do, and even with the National Black Unity newspaper, which is what this is a part of, the National Black Unity newspaper. It's about making people better. How do we make people better? How do we make our community better? And then how do we make life better? And we do that by bringing you things like this. We do that by bringing you authors such as the one that I'm about to introduce to you in just a couple of seconds, that we're going to bring on and have a conversation with him about his project and the other projects and books that he has out there. It's just a phenomenal it's just a whole list of things that this young man has done, and I am elated to have him a part of this showcase because I know just the great things that he has done. He's been in this writing game for a minute. He's been in this writing game for a minute, so he knows a little bit about it. He's been bringing some great content to people for a number of years, and I just wanted you all to get a little taste of what he has, and then you all can take it from there and get more of it because you'll get his contact information and how you'll be able to purchase his book series, and all of those good things that we'll be talking about here. So I'm going to introduce to you all Mr. Pastor Kevin Wayne Johnson, who is and I had to pull this up because I got a whole list of stuff. Best-selling author, founder of the Johnson Leadership Group, certified John Maxwell speaker, trainer, coach, um, owner and founder of Writing for the Lord Ministries. He is a graduate of the Virginia Commonwealth University, but just a plethora of things that this gentleman has in his resume. I'm gonna let him tell you what's not what I just haven't talked there. I'm gonna let him start off by that. So I want to welcome you, Pastor, to joining us on the Author Showcase. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for coming forward.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good to see you, my good friend. Always happy to support and advocate for all the great work that you're doing. I think you and I have been connected now for about 15 years, huh?
At least.
Yeah.
I know,
yeah.
right? It's been a minute.
Yep. Humble beginnings, right?
Absolutely.
What separates you from the rest, Leroy, is that you stuck with it. So that perseverance has paid off. You didn't give up in those valley experiences, and you had a chance to actually experience more mountaintop experience because you stayed in the game and you're still going strong. So you're an inspiration to me and many, many others. And it's my joy to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. But I'm gonna tell you, and we'll talk a little bit about those valley experiences for people because it is difficult. Don't get it twisted. There are days where you wonder, am I doing the right thing? You know what I mean? And staying in just anything, whether it's a career, whether it's being an entrepreneur, as you and I both know, those things, you have those troubling days, where those days that you question yourself, you doubt what it is that you're doing, and the thing is how do you stick to it? How do you stay with it in spite of what you may be seeing or what may be going on in the immediate time, and pushing through so that you can, like you said, have more of those mountaintop experiences than you have those valley experiences and getting through those. So let's start off like this. I usually like this because we get the resumes from people and we know everybody's bio. I want you to tell the listening audience something about you that's not in the resume, something that they would not even think that they would think about when they see Pastor Kevin Wayne Johnson.
Well, we call it one of those off resume moments.
Yeah.
So what resonates with me, that people probably wouldn't know unless I shared with them, is there are moments of fasting that
Mm,
I engage in every day. I don't wait for a particular time of the year or particular
mm,
season or particular um, activity or occasion.
mm.
Fasting is part of who I am. As much as I love a nice cuisine and some scrumptious food like we all do,
Right.
I'm actually down to eating like just once a day.
Really?
Uh,
Oh, wow.
Generally speaking, in the morning is when I'm drinking a lot of my water and I'm
Hmm.
eating fruit.
Okay.
Generally around the lunch hour, like even what I did today, I'll have myself a meal and I'm done for the day. Spend a
Okay.
lot of quiet time having conversations with my Heavenly Father,
Hmm.
God Almighty. And that's really been the difference maker in my life. I've been doing that now for a good little while, something that wouldn't necessarily be on my resume, but something unique to who I am. It's in those moments of fasting and in those moments of quiet time and being
Mm,
still and sort
mm,
of relaxing and restoring, that we draw near to God and we really have clarity, if you would, on who we are,
mm.
what our purpose is, what we're supposed to be doing, and how we deposit something into the next generation
Wow.
to make this a much better place. And Leroy, everything that I said, it all starts at home.
Yeah.
So everything that I'm doing today, it all starts in the home
Yeah.
and then it transcends out into community and into the society. So that's an off resume tidbit, if you would, or nugget about Kevin Wayne Johnson that you really wouldn't know unless of course I tell you, which is what I did. I think it's very important that we take time to relax, reflect, restore, and think, and have some quiet time and get away and just have some time of fasting and just be alone, because now you can get clarity in
Mm.
terms of where you're going, what you're doing, why you're doing it, how does it make sense, understanding the faith walk, because everything we do is a faith walk. I tease people all the time. Here's how you know that everything that we do is a faith walk. Think about the last time that you interviewed for a position.
Mm.
And this is for entrepreneurs as well as those of us that did the 9 to 5. So you interviewed for your position and you knew going in you're qualified, and you knew going in that there's a high probability that I'll get the job, et cetera, et
Mm.
cetera. And you have a lot of optimism and hope. And you go in and you feel like you did relatively well in that half hour or that 1 hour interview. Lo and behold, about 3 weeks later, you get a letter in the mail or you get
Mm.
an email saying, "Congratulations,
Right.
Leroy. You got the position. Here's your salary. Here's your start date. Here's some other expectations. Here's what you do on your first day when you come on board. We get you checked in. Here's where the faith walk comes in, Leroy. I can guarantee that of all the people that I've talked to and all the audiences that I have addressed, here's how you know it's the faith walk. Not one time do we pick up the phone and call the HR director to verify the bank that that particular employer works with, to verify that they actually have funds in the bank so I'll
Mm.
get paid every 2 weeks.
Right.
We never do that. Why? Because we
Not at
have
all.
faith in that employer that because I got the job, I'm going to get paid.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so everything that we do is a faith walk. And I want all of the listeners and viewers to just kind of keep that in mind. Once you put your mind to do something, it takes faith to make it come to pass.
Absolutely. And even just to piggyback off of what you said, you and I both know faith without works is dead. So we have that faith work, that faith walk that we had, but
Yep.
the action part of it is, like you said, moving on what it is that we're believing in and believing that. And I think one of I've heard one pastor talk about it before, but faith is walking towards a door and believing. It's almost like walking when you walk into a Walmart or a Target or one of those doors. They have the sliding glass doors. Faith is walking towards that door, believing that by the time you get to that door, that the door is going to open. Or you're driving in your car, believing that every time you put your foot on the brake, that car is going to stop. That's what the faith walk is about. So absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about how did you get and we talked about that you've been writing for a minute now. What actually got you started in writing? What got you started writing? What made you say, "Wow, I got something in my head that I want to get out, and I think I can put it into a book."
Yeah, so I've always had a, a two-way track, a
Mm,
bivocational track. As a mid-level and a senior level leader working for the federal government,
okay.
I was also very actively involved in ministry as well. So I was on a dual track.
Mm.
And on my job, I was writing articles as it relates to my career field.
Oh, okay.
And my background is in the area of government contracting, procurement, acquisition. I was one of the officials on the government side that was responsible for buying the information technology, the office supplies, the software, the clothing and textiles, et cetera.
Oh, okay.
And I really enjoyed it because I had really good sponsors and really good champions in my corner. I had good bosses, and I was making my way through the ranks relatively quickly. And I found myself writing articles about my career field that were being published in national magazines, which led to visibility and responsibility and promotions, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really enjoyed it. And these were small articles from 1 page, maybe to 5 pages. And they were consistently being published. And of course, when you publish an article, at the very bottom, your name and all of the other credits go along with it.
Absolutely.
And I would get phone calls. My bosses would get phone calls, and they wanted Kevin Johnson to come and be a speaker on this particular topic. So as I got closer and closer and closer with the Lord on my ministry side, my heart was just moved to say, well, if you're writing for your secular job, then you should be writing for the Lord. And that's how it was birthed. We're going all the way back to the year 2000, 19 years ago. So that's really how it was birthed, Leroy. The very first book that I penned on my own as the principal author was Give God the Glory.
Mm-hmm.
And the subtitle is Know God and Do the Will of God Concerning Your Life. And even today, it's still one of our best sellers after all of these years, because people really resonate with the title,
Mm-hmm.
and they also resonate with the cover. The cover is
Gotcha.
also very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I got started. And then from there, I just kept going. So I reached out, I did local events, I did regional events on the East Coast of the United States. And then I began doing national events.
Mm-hmm.
And I even found myself from time to time overseas in London, doing events over there and developing relationships over there. And I just kept writing and I kept writing and I kept writing. So 9 books later, that became a series of books, all nonfiction. And during the journey, I also would get not frequent, but occasional requests to be a part of an anthology or to be a contributing author to another book. So in my portfolio, there are books as a contributing author to titles such as Blended Families, Financial Management, in the area of faith. Of course, that's the Give God the Glory book series. Global book marketing would be some of those other areas that where I was asked to contribute. So when it's all said and done, after 19 years, there are now a total of 16 books in the Kevin Wayne Johnson portfolio. And as the industry changes, it kind of keeps you fresh, because there's no opportunity for it to get stale, because it's constantly changing. Technology changes, changes in the publishing industry. Organizations come, organizations go. Different leaders come, different leaders go. Different conferences pop up, others don't materialize. So it keeps you on your P's and Q's in terms of what's going on in the industry to keep you going strong. And even with the latest book, and I know we'll talk about it, but even with my latest book, now that I'm retired and I'm in chapter 2, I sort of have a different emphasis, if you would, in terms of what I do. And so, even starting off in a brand new year, 2020, and I'm taking a look at the industry in terms of what's happening. It's really interesting how God Almighty directs your steps in terms of where you're going to go and how you're going to go. So we're going to be in 2020. We're going to be in 17 cities this year, and we've already done Atlantic City. So Atlantic City, New Jersey was city number one.
Mhm.
But we're going to be transitioning in the month of February. We'll be in Minneapolis.
Okay.
We'll be in Tampa, Florida, and we'll be in Denver, Colorado. 3 different cities just in the month of February, the shortest month of the year,
Mhm.
leading this nationwide discussion on this latest topic, which is really pertinent in my life right now, and that is in the space of leadership. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but that's how it got started. And I've had many more mountaintop experiences than I've had valley experiences, which has kept me going. It's something I enjoy doing. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy learning from people and people learning from me. And it's kept the journey fresh.
Absolutely. Now, what do you attribute your, because we talked, since you've been around, since, like you said, since 2000, what do you attribute your sustainability in this industry to? What made you say you weren't going to be one of those authors that was a one and done book, as opposed
Yeah.
to saying, wow, I have something now and I can even build upon what, that one book that you
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Leroy, has been the relationship building over the years.
had?
Um, why did I target 17 cities in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Because the majority of the cities where I'll be leading these national discussions, there's a nucleus of people that I know, that I've
Okay.
developed relationships with,
Okay.
who are rolling out the red carpet saying, yeah, come on in. Now, there'll be some areas where I haven't gone before. Like, for example, I've never been to Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there in April. And there's probably another city or two I can't think of right now that I've never been to, that I'll be going to. But Albuquerque is the one that really stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And so developing those relationships and maintaining and cultivating those relationships over all of these years, both publishing industry insiders, as well as fellow authors, publicists, book printers, people that have been in the trenches of the business for all of these years, the different pastors around the country and different ministers, the churches that have bookstores,
Mm-hmm.
the brick and mortar bookstores that are still existing. We've
Oh,
lost many of them, unfortunately.
yeah.
But many of them are still standing, maintaining those relationships and then establishing new relationships as well. Borders Bookstore, I really do miss. They treated this author really, really well. But there are also a number of Barnes and Noble stores that treat me really well. They're not. I haven't found them to be quite as open as Borders was,
Right.
but there are a number of Barnes and Noble bookstore managers across the country that are still, after all this time, they still say, "Yep, come on in. Yep, we'd love to have you. Absolutely."
Wow. Wow.
So that's really what has sustained me. Just sticking with it, learning the business, understanding how the industry works, what to do and what not to do, has saved time and money. And I think the underlying thing is I just really enjoy it. I like writing, and I like getting out there and meeting people and being in the presence of people.
Absolutely. And that's great. I mean, and honestly, to me, you can't be an author, be a writer, and not like being around people because it's an automatic, it's an
Yeah,
automatic tool that's going to put you in front of people. Because
yeah,
I've had clients or even potential clients say, "Oh, I can't, I don't want to be in front of people." How you gonna write a book and you not be in front of people? That automatically puts you in front of people. But it's something that that some people may start off being uncomfortable with. But I think as time goes on, and like you said, as they build relationships and as they
yeah,
see the impact that they have on people and everything, I think they become more comfortable with it. So
yeah,
it is important that you build those relationships and that you, whether it's the business relationships, like you said, with bookstores, with other authors as well. And that's one of the reasons I think that you and I connected was because that relationship that we have with being in those same circles. That circle becomes very small when you
yep,
start to do this thing because you start to see authors at different, the same events, or you're doing the same events and kind of running the same gamut. And I know you do the same thing with being a pastor too. You kind of run in the same circles with the different types
Mm-hmm.
of events, conferences, expos, and all the things that that you get involved with. Now, you mentioned your latest book, which is Leadership with a Servant's Heart. Now, I don't know if you have a copy of the book that you have. I don't know if you have it right there with you or not, to hold up for the folks to be able to see or not. But like you said, your book focuses on leading through personal relationships, which is what you just said. So, can you talk a little bit about the book, what the book is about, and then what you want the readers to gain from reading the book on leadership?
Yeah, I would say at the foundation, the book is all about helping our current and next generation of leaders become the
Mm.
best at what they will ultimately be. At some point, the baton will be passed, and there will be high expectations, a high level of responsibility, accountability, and visibility that goes into being a leader of a few people or a lot of people, a small organization or a large organization. So what we do, we walk our readers through sort of a history of leadership, not only from the Bible, but also in the secular realm as well. We reference a number of great leaders that have gone on before us. And we also reference leadership as it pertains to the Bible. We look at Daniel, we look at Jonah, these different styles of leadership. And the main takeaway is for all of us to understand the differences between managing and leading, to understand the differences between coaching and mentoring, to understand how significant it is to the people that we lead, that we value them and that we care for them. We get into a lot of discussion around listening, because even if you don't necessarily agree with the person you're having a conversation with, a good leader will at least listen and hear them out,
Mm.
and don't change the subject and don't interrupt people,
Right.
right? Because now you're causing them to go on the defensive, and when you cause a person to go on the defensive, you really just you just killed the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about these strategies and these principles, a bunch of them, from page 1 all the way page 215, and everything in between, really to help our men and women become really, really good leaders as they go forward. Leadership is not something that's innately born in us. It's something that has to be taught. While it is true that we can pick up in a child some leadership tendencies that they have, but it still has to be cultivated and taught and shown and led by example for them to be the best leader that they will ultimately be. So that's really, in a nutshell, what it's all about. On the cover, there's a picture of a gentleman and his heart. The heart is covering just about the entire chest, because
Mm.
it's all about leading from the heart, being a servant leader from the heart. The word teaches us that it's from the heart the issues of life flow, right from the heart. So have the right intention, have the right motive when we're leading people, because people can pick up on something that's not genuine or something that's hypocritical. They can pick up on that. And a lot of our people won't say anything.
Right.
Some will, but a lot of people won't say anything. And it makes a real big difference in terms of our ability to lead them. So I'm super, super excited about this 17 city tour in the month of 2020. We'll be in churches, we'll be in bookstores, we'll be in corporations, we'll be with federal government and local government agencies. We'll be with academia. I was just with Bowie State University yesterday. We're going to be launching a brand new student leadership conference on the
Cool.
campus of Bowie State University. I met with 25 of the student leaders in the Student Government Association,
Mm.
along with about 4 or 5 of their chaperones, some of the faculty and professors there at Bowie State. And we're going to be doing more of that as well. I'm going to reach out to some more of the HBCUs around
Mm.
the country
Wow.
to do
That's
that
huge.
as well, because we want to have an on-campus student leadership conference where our students can just focus for a full day on nothing but just that, just learning strategies and principles around leadership that will help them. And we're going to be soliciting sponsors so that the university, nor the students have to pay a dime. The sponsors will foot the bill. So more to come on that. But I'm just excited about this particular stage of my life. This is what I'm really focused and dedicated in doing right now. And it just kind of resonates with me that this is the perfect spot and the perfect time, especially when you consider what's coming out of the White House these days. We need to have this conversation.
Absolutely, conversation. Now, I want to pick up on two things that you mentioned here. The first one being about leadership. Give me, and you talked a little bit about it, but what do you think are the characteristics of a good leader? What makes someone a good leader? I'll start with that one, and then
okay. Well, that's really a good question, because I'll be preaching about it on Sunday.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So there are actually a ton of different qualities, characteristics, behaviors, mannerisms. You can use all of those words intertwined when it comes to qualities, or what you said, characteristics of a leader. But one of them, and I'm going to talk about this on Sunday, one is focus. A leader is a person that's just laser focused on the task, laser focused on the desired outcome, laser focused on what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. You just focus. All of these distractions that you and I deal with in 2020, or when it comes to these little devices,
I know, right?
and social media and 24/7 news outlets and just constant noise that we have to deal with all the time. A good leader distinguishes himself and herself by being able to be laser focused. And the person that I use in the scripture is Paul, in terms of where he was and what he used to think. And then after his transformational experience on a road called Damascus, how he became laser focused, and actually teaches us in the book of Philippians to just keep seeking after that prize, right? Forget what's behind, but look forward to that prize, that high calling. And so that's one of the characteristics. One of the other ones is, and this pretty much goes without saying, but it's worth repeating, a good leader is a person that understands responsibility. So I break the word responsibility up into two. So the first part is response, which is a full word. And then the second part is ability, which is a full word. So response, ability. What is your ability to respond to what's needed?
Absolutely.
And that distinguishes a good leader from an average leader, because you have to be paying attention to what's going on around you, and be able to read body language and listen with a third ear, and kind of see things with a third eye, and just being responsible to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and helping people to understand why it needs to be done. Helping people to understand these things is one of our biggest challenges as leaders, but that kind of falls under the umbrella of responsibility. And then this third one that I'll leave you with, Leroy, is one that I'm really big on, but one that a lot of people don't necessarily resonate with or gravitate towards. And that is, a good leader is one who really understands what it means to hold people accountable, starting with themselves. So holding ourselves accountable while at the same time holding others accountable. When we see people doing some things that they shouldn't do and saying some things that they shouldn't say, and we don't do anything, we don't hold them accountable. Basically, what we're doing is saying, I endorse that behavior.
You just shut down Washington with that one, right? And I'm going to leave that right there.
And they're just going to keep on doing what they're doing, how they're doing it, because they're not being held accountable. Now, here's how a good leader distinguishes himself or herself, because not always, but many times what comes from that is conflict. So now you and I have to manage the conflict. It's called conflict management. We talk a lot about that as well. And because of the human element that's in us, most of us don't like conflict. We really don't. Right. We don't want to embrace it. We don't want to deal with it.
Don't want to deal with it.
It goes hand in hand with being a leader. We have to hold people accountable, and we have to accept that it may lead to a conflict. So how do we prepare ourselves and them for the conflict management? That's a part of what we teach in our leadership series, and I touch on it some in the book as well. But that's why a lot of people don't deal with it and hold people accountable, because they're thinking in their mind subconsciously it's going to lead to conflict, and most of us don't want to deal with conflict, me included. I don't really like being in conflict with people, but good leaders have to embrace the fact that it probably will happen, because if you don't hold people accountable, you're just endorsing the behavior.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
And I mean, those are three great characteristics: being able to be focused, laser focused, being responsible or having responsibility, and being accountable. Those are major. So I appreciate that. Now, taking that you said that those are great. Those are three great characteristics of a leader. Let's talk about the next generation of leadership and how we get them to have these characteristics of being focused, being responsible, and being accountable, because they only get prepared if we prepare them. I think I've always said that it's every generation's responsibility to make the next generation better, to have them go better, be better than what we were, to be able to stretch out and go beyond what it is that we've done. And I think our generation, we have somewhat, I believe, dropped the ball in preparing the next generation for leadership.
Yeah, so it starts with the behavior that we want them to model.
Okay.
So it's that nonverbal portion of our leadership. It's not always about what we say, but more times than not, more times than what leaders believe, it's the nonverbal. It's what we do, how we handle ourselves, our grooming, our countenance. Do we follow up on the words that we speak? So if we model that for the next generation, we are giving them something to be inspired and motivated to achieve.
Absolutely.
Not to mention the actual words that we say. When we do speak those words, we just need to make sure that we walk in what we say. But I think, Leroy, that's the beginning of really showing the next generation what good leadership is all about. It's just being a great role model, right? I share with my sons all the time. My sons are now 21, 23, and 24. And you heard me say a little bit earlier that all of this really starts in the home. I give my sons examples all the time. You haven't seen me do so-and-so, so I don't know where you got that from, but
right.
I can always remind you that you never saw me do that. Now, I don't know where you got that from. you didn't get it from your father. Right? Because that's not going to get you a whole lot of brownie points in life. Listen, in this life, and I've shared this with many audiences, we live in a society, in a country, and in a nation, and it's not just unique to the United States, but we live in a country where people tend to thrive on taking advantage of people based upon what they don't know.
Wow.
And you better embrace it, and you better believe it. And that's in the United States. Now, when I was still working before I retired, I actually had staff that was based in London, England. So I used to go to London quite a bit.
Okay.
I would arrive at Heathrow, and I would go over to Hammersmith. Our office was in Hammersmith, right outside of London. And I could see it firsthand. Sometimes the folks would challenge us Americans based upon our knowledge of what's going on in their culture and in their world. And for my colleagues who didn't know any better, I would see them being taken advantage of.
Wow.
And we have a lot of that going on here in the United States. It starts in elementary school. Yeah. It goes through middle school, high school, college, into the workplace, people jockeying for positions to try to get promoted. We call it office politics, but basically all they're doing, they're just jockeying for position to get that next promotion. And people are taking advantage of other people based upon what they don't know. So, I've told my sons and others that we're now competing on a global basis. You're no longer competing with Jimmy down the block or with Denise over in the next county, or even with Simone around the corner in Virginia. You are now competing against Habib in India and Veronica in Yugoslavia and Bubba and them in the Caribbean. Right? This is global competition.
It's global.
So
wow.
Be on your P's and Q's, be focused, be responsible, hold yourself accountable. These are leadership qualities that we talked about in everything that we do, because of the technology advances and internet, et cetera. When I hit that button and send Leroy an email who's up the street in the same state, you receive it just as quickly as when I hit enter on my email when I'm sending something over to Slovenia or Hungary or Georgia or the UK, right? Or the Pacific Rim or China or Russia or New Zealand and Australia. They receive that email at the same speed as you receive it right around the corner in Maryland. And so that's who we're competing against. And we're telling our next generation of leaders, don't take it lightly, don't slouch, but be on your game.
Absolutely. And that's great advice for the next generation of leaders. Now, what advice would you give the writer that's out there that has that book inside of them and is saying, I got a book for 2020 that I want to get out? What would your advice be for that?
My advice is the same as it's always been. There's really three things. Number one, surround yourself with other like-minded authors that are doing the same. And so the question becomes, how do you do that? By attending writers' conferences and joining writers' groups, local writers' groups right in the area where you can meet and greet with people who are doing the exact same thing that you want to do. You can feed off of each other and get some good information. One of the first things I did at the beginning of the fiscal year, at the beginning of the new calendar year, was the first Saturday of this brand new year, we had a Men on Books event over at one of the local libraries right in Baltimore. And we had good attendance. We had 5 male authors on the panel, just having a conversation about what we do and why we do it. And we had a lively audience out there, and they were asking questions, and we did that for a couple of hours, and people had all kinds of questions. And one of the advice pieces that I gave to them was, you're in the right place, because as a writer, you want to be where you can ask all of these other writers questions that you might have. So, and then the third thing is attend writers conferences. When you go to a writers conference, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, you're under the same roof as all of the other authors and editors and publishers and publicists, and everybody is there under one roof at one time, and you can ask all the questions that you might have, as opposed to having to go to all these different sources. Everybody's there together. So I recommend about two of those a year. 19 years later, I still go to, on average, 1 or 2 writers conferences per year, just to stay fresh and stay involved. And then last but not least, once you get started in your book, just keep going until you're done. Don't stop. Don't give up. Just keep going. If you get stuck, go to one of the local writers groups or one of the local writers conferences and get engaged and get re-fired up and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. That's some great advice. Now, how can individuals get a copy of your book or books and be able to purchase your books? And then also, how can they connect with you if they want to, have you for a speaking engagement? If they want you to be a keynote at one of their conferences or expos, or be a part of a panel discussion or something.
Yeah. So it's pretty easy. Kevin Wayne Johnson is the name. So just go to kevinwaynejohnson.com. Keep it simple.
Spell that for him. Spell that for him.
Oh, Kevin?
The whole thing. Spell the whole thing so that folks know, because folks will spell their names differently. So we want to make sure that people know how to spell it correctly.
I got you. All right. So Kevin, Wayne, Wayne, Johnson, Johnson. So it's kevinwaynejohnson.com. And then the email address is kevin@kevinwaynejohnson.com. We try to keep it as simple as possible. That's one piece of advice that we have for all of our authors. Try to make it as easy as possible for people to get in contact with you. Using your name is a good way for them to do it. If you have one of those email addresses that has like 74 characters in it, um,
And then they out there too.
or if you print up your business cards and the fonts are real small that you need like a magnifying lens to see, don't do that. You want to make it as easy as possible for your audience to reach you. Oh man, sometimes I'll get cards from people that I collect, and I have a habit of making sure that I reach back and stay in contact with people. So I'll send them an email after an event saying it was so nice to meet you. Keep up the great work. Let me know how I can help. And I'm just have to be honest with you, Leroy. When I look at some of these business cards
Oh, yeah,
and it's 108 characters in the email address, they don't get an email from me.
yeah, buddy.
It's just
And
take me a minute to spell out the email address.
absolutely. I mean, and people understand the importance of that, of making it as simple and as easy for people to be able to remember.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
be able to do, because if you get all complicated with it and stuff like that, trust me.
yeah. It goes a long way. And don't if try your best not to use the real complicated words.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to keep it as simple as possible and keep it short because you want people to reach out to you.
Right.
But I'm telling you, if you give them a reason to not do that, then they won't. They'll keep on. They'll move to the next person. They'll call Leroy instead.
Absolutely, And so, as we wind down, what's your, if you had I'm gonna leave it like this. Give a parting word to our viewing audience. What you want to leave them with your, from your book, from you personally, about leadership or anything that you want to kind of leave them with. What is it that what's that word that you give us a word, Pastor, that you would like to
All right.
that you would like to leave them with?
Yeah, I would say the best thing is, whatever it is that you're going to pursue in life, whatever that dream, aspiration, or goal is, be very intentional about it. Study up on it. Do your due diligence. Do your homework. So it can just come naturally. You don't have to think about it. When people ask me about leadership, when people ask me about the Give God the Glory book series, when people ask me about what it is to be a writer, it just flows very naturally because I've studied it for so long and I'm very comfortable in it. So be able to do that in a very short and succinct way. They give people reason to say, oh, I'm excited about that. Tell me some more. So do your homework, do your due diligence, and just continue to study about the industry, study about what it is to be a writer, improve your craft, and be visible. You have to get out there and be visible, let people know who you are, develop good relationships, build rapport with people, and just watch these doors open. It's been phenomenal.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want you to give your contact information one more time, and then we'll close.
Okay, it's www.kevinwaynejohnson.com, and the email address is kevin@kevinwaynejohnson.com. Everything you need to know is there: the calendar of events, where we're going to be, how to purchase copies of the books, et cetera, et cetera. Everything is right there.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you again for being a part of the Author Showcase, being able to come and share some of your knowledge, your information, and your resources that you have. You are a wealth of information. I know your passion for helping people and being there for people and making our communities better. And I know that those who have read any of your books and any of the series that you have are better because they have read your books and have taken heed to what it is that you put into those books, the content, and everything that they'll gain from being a reader, and then also even those that when you've spoken, when you've done speaking engagements and all the things that you bring to the table. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming and sharing with us that the knowledge, the great knowledge and expertise that you have. So thank you very much.
All right, Leroy. Thank you so much, and keep up the great work.
Absolutely. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in to the Author Showcase, brought to you by JNF Enterprises and the National Black Unity News. And you can actually visit the website at www.tnbun.com. That's the National Black Unity News newspaper's website. You can go to the YouTube channel, visit the YouTube channel, the National Black Unity News YouTube channel. You'll be able to see great men such as Pastor Kevin Wayne Johnson there with this, as well as many others and the other content that is in the newspaper, because it's a great national. This is the number one national black national newspaper in the country. You're not going to get this information that you get in this newspaper anywhere else. I promise you. They cover the things that people aren't readily talking about, and doing things such as this, where they're showcasing authors that you might not ordinarily hear about, but you can put the spotlight on them, we showcase them to be able to give them a platform to be able to showcase their talents, their works, their products, their services. And I'm just appreciative of everyone who has been a participant of this, and have subscribe to the newspaper, because you can subscribe to the newspaper, subscribe to the YouTube channel. So this is us signing off for this time. We will talk to you all next time. Thank you again, Pastor, and we look forward to seeing great things from you in 2020.
All right.